In the year 2489, the stars were no longer distant dreams. Humanity had joined the Galactic Union, standing shoulder to shoulder with species from across the galaxy. But not everyone was friendly. Some powers, like the Zuraline hegemony, preferred to stay distant, proud of their ancient ways and powerful fleets. The Zurelians were insectoid beings, tall, hard exoskeletons, for arms and glowing blue eyes. Their queen, Zelthara, ruled over 500 worlds with both grace and strength. Her people believed her to be wise, ageless, and sacred. No one dared insult her. No one dared stand too close to her. And definitely no one dared speak to her without the proper rituals, so naturally. When the time came for the first human-Zurelian diplomatic meeting, the Terran Accord carefully selected its most experienced ambassador. Except, he missed his ship. That's how Lieutenant Commander Jonah Briggs, a junior diplomat with exactly one successful mission, involving trade talks and too much alien wine, ended up representing all of humanity. Wait, you want me to speak? To a 12-foot alien queen who can break me in half with her mind? Jonah had said the answer was yes, and there was no time to argue. The summit was held on a neutral station called Galaxis Prime, a massive ring-shaped structure orbiting a red dwarf star. The air smelled faintly of metal and something sweet like fruit that had been left out too long. Hundreds of alien banners hung from the domes. Beings from all corners of the galaxy moved through the halls, tall, short, slimy, glowing, or robotic. Jonah adjusted his diplomatic uniform for the 100th time. The collar was too tight, and the boots squeaked. His translator earpiece buzzed with new languages being loaded into the system. His heart thudded in his chest. "Relax," whispered his assistant, a small spherical AI named Dottie. "Just smile, don't fall over, and don't make any hand gestures." Why? Because raising 3 fingers might be a mating signal. Or a declaration of war. Hard to say, Jonah groaned. Inside the grand chamber, a hush fell. The Zurelian queen entered with her royal guards. She was massive, taller than any being in the room, with iridescent armor and wings that shimmered slightly behind her back. She moved with slow, graceful steps, her forearms folding neatly across her chest. Every other species bowed low. Jonah bent at the waist and whispered to Dottie, "Is that low enough?" "Lower." He dropped a few more inches. Queen Zelthara's voice echoed, translated into all languages. "We welcome the children of Terra. Let us share speech and hope it leads to peace." Jonah stood, cleared his throat, and took the stage. His palms were sweating. "Greetings, noble Queen Zelthara," he said, trying to sound formal. "It is an honor to share air with you." The queen tilted her head slightly, a sign of interest, Dottie whispered. Jonah smiled, gaining confidence. "Humans are new to the stars, but we believe in friendship, trade, and understanding. We do not wish to dominate, only to learn and grow. With respect to your ancient wisdom, we offer our hand in alliance." A long silence. The queen stood. She approached slowly. The room held its breath. Jonah's mind raced. Was she offended? Did he say something wrong? Was his bow too shallow? Then she spoke. "You speak with courage," she said. "I accept your words." Relief flooded Jonah's body. She added, "Let us mark this meeting with the traditional toast of unity." Oh no. Dottie blinked red. "Jonah, the toast ceremony is filled with cultural traps. You have to repeat her phrase exactly, or risk offense." "Thanks, Dottie. Great timing." A servant brought a tray with 2 glasses, one for Jonah and one for the queen. The liquid inside was golden and bubbling slightly. Like carbonated honey, Queen Zelthara lifted her glass and spoke an ancient Zurelian phrase. Her mandibles clicked softly at the end. Jonah repeated the phrase, or tried to. He stumbled on one syllable, and the click at the end came out more like a chirp. Dottie made a sound like an error. Alarm. Too late. Queen Zelthara froze. Everyone in the room stared. Jonah's heart dropped. What? What did I say? Dottie whispered. You just said something like, "May our genetic lines be forever entwined in sacred harmony." Jonah blinked. What? You propose mating? Dottie whispered. Jonah almost dropped. His glass queen Zelthara let out a sound. It might have been a laugh or a challenge. It echoed across the hall. She turned to her people. The human dares to honor me with the sacred phrase. Truly, Terra is bold. The chamber erupted in polite clicks and thumps, Cerealian applause. Jonah stood frozen, unsure if he'd just won or doomed his species. Later that night, after endless handshakes, nods, and photo ops, Jonah sat alone in his guest quarters. His head was spinning. Dottie floated nearby, playing galactic news headlines. Breaking, human diplomat utters ancient bonding phrase, Queen amused Galactic Union. Stunned by Earth's courage or stupidity, wedding bells for Earth and Insect Empire. Jonah groaned. Can this day get any weirder? Right then, the door chimed. A royal messenger stood outside. Lieutenant Commander Briggs. The Zarelian said, Her Majesty Queen Zelthara requests your presence in the royal garden. She wishes to speak with you. Alone Dottie beeped. This is either very good or very, very bad. Jonah sighed. Let's find out. The royal garden was unlike anything on Earth. Tall, glowing mushrooms formed walkways, and plants gently moved on their own. Alien fireflies danced through the air. The queen stood in the center, wings folded neatly behind her. Jonah approached carefully. You summoned me, Your Majesty? Yes, she said. I wished to speak without cameras. You surprised me today, human? I didn't mean to say the sacred phrase, Jonah said quickly. It was an accident. And yet she said, stepping closer, many great things in history begin with accidents. He swallowed hard. She looked at him for a long moment. Your species is strange, soft, imperfect, but curious, honest, alive. Jonah blinked. Was that a compliment? She leaned down slightly, her glowing eyes studying him. Tell me, Jonah Briggs, do you believe in fate? I don't know, she nodded. Neither do I. But I do believe. In possibility. Before Jonah could answer, she turned away. Good night, Jonah Briggs. He stood in silence as she disappeared into the glowing garden. Back in his room, Jonah flopped onto his bed. Dottie, he whispered. What just happened? Think you just made history, the AI replied. Jonah Briggs did not sleep well. It wasn't the soft alien bed or the glowing walls of his guest room. It wasn't the low humming noise the station made when it shifted orbit. It was the simple fact that he might have accidentally proposed to an alien queen, and worse. She didn't say no. The next morning, Dottie, his AI assistant, hovered near his head like an annoying bee. Wake up, Jonah. You're all over the galactic net again. Hashtag Queen's favorite human is trending. Jonah pulled a blanket. Over his face? Tell me this is a dream? Nope. You're famous. Or infamous. Hard to say, Jonah groaned. I'm just a junior diplomat. I was supposed to be here for 3 days, shake hands, and go home. Not make alien babies? Dottie beeped about that. The Queen's Royal Science Council has requested your DNA sample. Politely. With strong encouragement, Jonah sat up. Why would they want that? Dottie hesitated, because Queen Zelthara made an announcement last night. Jonah's heart sank. What kind of announcement? Dottie displayed a hollow recording. The Queen stood tall on a golden platform, her wings glowing in the moonlight. Zarelian citizens watched in silent awe. In this time of change, evolution finds a way. The union long forgotten has been awakened. I carry within me the first royal egg in over 100 years, and it contains new life, shaped by the genes of a human diplomat. Jonah blinked. What? Dottie nodded slowly. You got her pregnant. Jonah nearly fell off the bed. Didn't do anything? We talked. We drank. I bowed. That's it, Dottie buzzed. Apparently you said the sacred phrase during a ceremonial toast. That phrase triggers a Zerylene queen's reproductive system if the genetic match is compatible. Your saliva, mixed with the royal nectar, completed the process. Wait, saliva. Yep, when you drank from the ceremonial glass. Science is weird. Jonah stood and began pacing. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. Too late. It did happen. A few hours later, Jonah was escorted politely but firmly to the royal hatchery. The room was circular, glowing. With soft lights, alien vines crept along the walls, pulsing with warmth. In the center sat a golden pod, shaped like a giant pearl. Queen Zelthara stood beside it, her expression calm, but her eyes sparkling. "Welcome, Jonah Briggs," she said. He gave a nervous bow. "Your Majesty, I heard the news." She placed a hand gently on the pod. "This is our child. A blend of my legacy and your unknown potential. You've given the Zerylene people a miracle." Jonah swallowed. "Are you mad?" She tilted her head. "No." Curious, pleased, even hopeful. He stared at the pod. "It's real? Yes. It grows fast. Already it shows signs of strength and thought." Jonah blinked. "Thought? How kind." "Develops consciousness inside the egg," she explained. "By the third phase, it will respond to voices and emotion." He stepped closer. The pod pulsed with soft golden light. He could hear a faint heartbeat inside. A strange feeling grew in his chest. "Fear? Yes, but also wonder." "It's part human?" he asked. "Correct," the royal scientist confirmed. The enzymes in your DNA triggered a dormant genetic code in our species, one we thought long gone." Jonah touched the pod gently. It was warm, like skin. "So, this isn't just biology, it's evolution." Zelthara nodded. "Exactly." Of the hybrid eggs spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On Earth, people were confused, amused, and even excited. Talk shows debated whether Jonah Briggs was a hero or just incredibly lucky. Scientists raced to understand how human and Zerylene DNA could mix. Religious groups argued. Meme creators had a field day. On Zerelia, the Queen's announcement sparked something deeper. Hope. For over a century, their race had slowly stopped reproducing. The royal bloodline had thinned. Many believed extinction was coming. Now, the birth of a hybrid royal heir changed everything, but not everyone was happy. In the dark corners of the hegemony, powerful old nobles whispered. They called the hybrid a threat, a mistake, a corruption. Of the pure line, one of them, General Krillok Vorn, stood in his private war chamber, watching the Queen's speech again. His eyes glowed with anger. "This egg is an infection," he said to his followers. "If we allow it to hatch, the old ways die. We must act." Back on Galaxus Prime, Jonah sat with the Queen in the quiet of the garden. They had spoken often since the announcement. What began as awkward conversations became strange friendship. "I still don't understand," Jonah said. "Why me? I'm nobody important." Zelthara looked up at the stars. "You're human, you're kind, is unpredictable, emotional, messy, but full of life. You are everything my kind has forgotten how to be." He smiled faintly. "That's the nicest insult I've ever received." She gave a soft, clicking laugh. "You are bold, and boldness brings change." He grew serious. "What happens next?" She turned to him. "You will come to Zerelia. The child must be born there, safely, among the ancient grounds. You will be honored and protected." Jonah frowned. "Protected from what?" Before she could answer, Dottie buzzed in his ear. "Jonah, incoming message from Earth Command. High priority." He tapped his earpiece. "Briggs here." "Jonah," said the voice of Admiral Reyes, his superior. "We just intercepted chatter from Zerelian military channels. There's a plot to seize the egg, possibly to destroy it." Jonah stood up. "What?" "Why? Some don't want change," Reyes said, "and they think you're the cause." "Oh no." Looked at the Queen. She had heard everything. "Prepare to leave," she said calmly. "Now, the child must survive. And so must you." Within the hour, Jonah, the Queen, and a small team of loyal guards boarded a sleek transport ship. The pod was sealed in a protective cradle, pulsing softly. The ship was fast, with stealth systems, but danger was close behind. Dottie floated beside Jonah in the cockpit. "So, to recap, you're a junior diplomat, accidental royal donor, out fleeing with a pregnant alien queen and her unborn heir while half the galaxy watches." Jonah sighed. "Yeah, sounds about right." Dottie beeped. "Exciting life, huh?" Jonah gave a small smile. "You could say that." As the stars streaked by outside the window, he placed a hand on the cradle. Inside, the golden egg pulsed again, this time stronger. The royal escape ship sped through space, silent and smooth, flying toward the distant planet of Zorelia Prime, the homeworld of the Zorelian race. Inside, the Queen sat with calm grace, her hands resting gently on the glowing egg, while Jonah Briggs paced back and forth, worry written across his face. He had never felt so many things at once: fear, pride, confusion, exhaustion, and something else. Something warm, like a quiet connection to the strange life forming inside the egg. "This can't be real," he muttered to himself. "I'm just a guy from Earth. I barely passed alien diplomacy training. Now I'm a dad." The Queen looked at him with her glowing blue eyes. "You're more than you think, Jonah Briggs." Jonah paused. "You keep saying that. Why?" Zelthara touched the egg. It pulsed with golden light. "Because you didn't run. Even when you learned the truth, you stayed, you cared. That is rare." Dottie, Jonah's AI assistant, floated near the ceiling of the ship and beeped. "We've got company." Jonah rushed to the controls. "What kind of company?" Dottie showed a hologram of two fast Aurelian fighter ships closing in behind them. "Military. Class. Not friendly," Dottie said. "Looks like Krillik Vorn's forces." Zelthara stood. "They are here for the egg. We must not let them take it." Jonah sat at the pilot seat. "I thought this was a peaceful ride to a birthing temple, not a space chase." "Welcome to royal fatherhood," Dottie replied. Jonah didn't know much about piloting, but Dottie did. The AI fed directions into the control system, while Jonah kept the ship steady. The Queen's guards moved to defense positions, preparing to counterattack if needed. Outside, stars turned into streaks as the ship dodged through asteroid fields and gravitational waves. The enemy ships fired plasma bolts that shook the hull. "They're trying to disable the engines," Dottie warned. "They want the ship in one piece, probably to recover the egg." "Not happening," Jonah muttered. He slammed the controls. To the left, the ship rolled, spun, and ducked into a narrow asteroid tunnel. One of the pursuers hit a rock and exploded into orange fire. "Yes," Jonah cheered. "One down." Adelthera remained calm but firm. "Jonah, listen. If the worst happens if I fall, you must protect the egg. Promise me." Jonah turned to her, eyes wide. "Don't say that." "Promise." "I promise." She nodded. "Then we continue." The ship reached Zorelia Prime just in time. The planet glowed green and gold, its forests thick with ancient trees that reached toward the sky. Glowing rivers cut through the land like veins of light. It was beautiful and deadly. They landed in the hidden jungle temple of Chiron's Nest, the sacred birthing place for Zorelian royals. Jonah stepped out of the ship and stared at the living temple. The walls were made of crystal and plant matter. The air smelled like sweet sap. Giant insects flew overhead, guarding the skies. "This place is alive," he whispered. Lothara nodded. "It will protect us. For now." The egg was placed in a sacred chamber. The walls glowed in rhythm with the heartbeat inside the shell. Zorelian healers surrounded the egg, whispering ancient chants. Jonah watched from behind a vine curtain. "It's almost time, isn't it?" "Yes, said the Queen. "The hybrid child is growing faster than any we've seen. Human DNA is chaotic, creative." Jonah laughed nervously. "Yeah, that sounds like us." Suddenly, Alarms echoed through the temple. Dottie zoomed into the room. Bad news. Vorn's army found us. They're landing troops right now. Zelthera stood, eyes glowing with fury. He dares bring war to the nest. Jonah grabbed a staff from a guard. Then we fight. You're a diplomat, she said. I'm also a father now. I don't run from my kid. The queen gave a slow, proud nod. Then we stand together. Outside the temple, the jungle erupted into chaos. Vorns. Forces dozens of armored Zarelian soldiers with dark red armor stormed the temple perimeter. Explosions rocked the ground. Alien beasts howled in the distance. But the queen's loyal guards fought with honor and fury. Defending the sacred grounds, Jonah had never fought in a real battle before. He ducked behind a tree, swung his staff at a soldier, and was shocked. When it actually worked, Dottie zapped enemies with tiny energy blasts. I am not built for combat, but I do have enthusiasm. Jonah and the queen moved together like a team, pushing through enemy lines, trying to reach the temple's core, where the egg was kept. But General Krillok Vorn had already gotten. Inside, the throne chamber of the nest was cracked and burning. Vorn stood at the center, holding a plasma sword, towering and cruel. The egg sat behind him, untouched, glowing fiercely. You are too late, queen, he growled. The child will not be born. I will end your broken bloodline here and now. Zelthera stepped forward, unafraid. You are blind, Krillok. This child is not the end. It is the beginning, he hissed. It is impure, mixed with filth. A disgrace to our people. Jonah stepped up beside her. Then your people need a new story. Vorn lunged. Jonah barely blocked the swing. Sparks flew. He stumbled back, chest heaving. Zelthera struck next, claws slicing through the air, wings rising with fury. The queen fought with beauty and strength. But Vorn was fast. Too fast, he knocked her back with a powerful blow. She fell to one knee. No, Jonah shouted, charging forward. Vorn turned and struck at him, but Jonah rolled, dodged, and drove his staff into the control panel behind the throne. Electric sparks rained down. A shield fell from the egg. It pulsed. Brighter than ever, the egg cracked. Everyone froze. A golden light spilled out. From the egg emerged a small creature, part human, part Zarelian, with soft skin, tiny arms, and glowing blue eyes. The child looked at Jonah. He felt something inside his mind. A voice, not words. Just feeling, connection, life, power. The child raised one hand, and with a blink of glowing eyes, sent out a pulse of energy that threw Vorn across the chamber. He hit the wall and didn't move. Silence. Then the queen rose and walked to the child. She picked up the newborn carefully, cradling it with awe and love. He has chosen you, she said, looking at Jonah. Jonah stepped forward, eyes wide, heart full. The baby reached for him. Jonah held him. Warmth spread. Through him, something ancient and new at the same time. A hybrid, a hope, a future. The battle was over. Vorn's soldiers retreated. The jungle calmed. Jonah sat under the stars that night. The child asleep beside him, wrapped in a glowing cocoon of safety. Queen joined him, her face softer now. What will we name him? Jonah asked. She smiled. He is both of us. So he will carry names from both worlds, Kale, Jonah said. It means light in Old Earth tongue. Kalethera, the queen added. A name worthy of a future ruler. They sat. In silence, looking up at the stars, to parents from different worlds, brought together by accident, fate, or something greater, and far above them across the galaxy. The story of the first human Zarelian child began to spread. A story of life of war and of unexpected love. News traveled fast. Across the stars, the galaxy buzzed with the incredible story of Jonah Briggs, the human who had fathered the first hybrid child with the Zarelian queen. Zelthera. This wasn't just gossip or legend anymore. It was real. Back on Earth, Jonah's face was plastered across every holoscreen. news channel, and social media feed. Jonah Briggs, the accidental father of an alien royal heir. Is this a miracle or a mistake? Experts say the child could change the future of human-alien relations forever. Atana sat quietly in his Earth apartment, watching the news. His phone kept ringing, messages from friends, government officials, and curious strangers. He felt overwhelmed. "I'm just a guy," he whispered. "How did I become a symbol for all this?" his sister called. "Jonah, you're famous. Everyone's proud of you. Even the president wants to meet you." Jonah sighed. "I don't know if I'm ready for any of this." Meanwhile in Zorelia, Prime celebrations were underway. The birth of Kael'thara, the hybrid child, had united a divided planet. Citizens who once feared extinction now looked forward with hope. The Queen's court held a grand ceremony. Zelthera stood proudly, holding Kael'thara wrapped in a shimmering cloth. "Today we witness a new dawn," she said. "The child represents the strength of two worlds united." Applause echoed through the hall, but not everyone cheered. In the shadows, Krelok Vorn survived his defeat. Barely. He hid deep in the wilderness, nursing wounds and plotting revenge. "This hybrid is a threat to tradition," he growled. "I will destroy it and anyone who stands in my way." Vorn's loyal followers began gathering again, preparing to challenge the Queen's rule. Across the galaxy, political powers reacted in different ways. Some governments praised Jonah and Zelthara's union as a symbol of peace and cooperation. Others feared the hybrid child as a dangerous unknown, a secret. A meeting of the Galactic Council was called. Council leaders debated fiercely. "The hybrid represents evolution," said Ambassador Tlara of the Zinther system. "It could be a bridge between species, but what if it is uncontrollable?" argued Senator Cragg of the Varkon Dominion. "We must be cautious." Jonah watched the council's broadcasts in his apartment, feeling more alone than ever. Unexpectedly, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. Jonah Briggs and Queen Zell Dara are hereby invited to attend the Council Summit on Xandris Prime. Their presence is requested to discuss the future of the hybrid heir. Jonah turned to Dottie. "Looks like this isn't over." Dottie beeped. "Get ready for another adventure, Dad." As Jonah prepared for the journey, Zelthera trained Kael'thara. The child grew quickly, learning to respond to voices and emotions. "Kael'thara, look," she said, showing him holographic images of stars and planets. The child's eyes glowed with curiosity. Jonah smiled. "He's like a little explorer already." The trip to Xandros Prime was tense. Jonah and Zelthara arrived in a grand starship, greeted by council officials. The council chamber was huge, filled with beings from dozens of species. Everyone watched. The hybrid child, with a mix of awe and suspicion. Ambassador Tila spoke first. "We welcome you, Queen Zelthara, and you, Jonah Briggs. This summit marks a historic moment." Jonah stepped forward. "I'm just a father trying to protect my child." The room was silent, but Senator Cragg stood up. "This child is a threat. An unknown variable that could destabilize our fragile peace." Zelthera's voice was firm. "Farah represents hope, unity. We must not fear the future." Tensions rose. Jonah took Kael'thara's hand. "We all have fears, but this child is part of all of us now." Suddenly alarms sounded. The council building shook. Vorn's forces had attacked. Chaos erupted. Jonah, Zelthara, and their guards fought to protect the child. Amidst the battle, Kael'thara's powers grew stronger. He sent out waves of energy, pushing attackers back. The council members watched, stunned. When the battle ended, a new respect filled the room. Leaders realized the hybrid child was not a threat, but a new kind of power. The summit ended with a historic vote. The Galactic Council agreed to protect Kael'thara and support the alliance between humans and Kalta. And Zorelians. Jonah looked at Zelthera. "We did it," he said quietly. She smiled. "Together, we will build a new future." Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever. A new chapter had begun, one of hope, challenges, and unexpected family, too. Be continued in Part 5. Legacy of the Hybrid. The battle at the Galactic Council was over. Queen Zelthara stood tall on the stairs of the council building, her body marked with light wounds and dust. Beside her, Jonah Briggs held their child, Calthera, close to his chest. Baby's bright eyes sparkled with energy and wonder, even after everything that had happened. The galaxy had just witnessed something incredible. A hybrid child born from two worlds, defending peace with power no one had ever seen before. But this was only the beginning. Weeks later, Zerelia Primmed, the Queen's palace, was alive with activity. Builders worked to repair old towers. Now diplomats from many planets arrived every day. Flags of Earth and Zerelia flew side by side over the palace gate. The once divided empire was changing fast. Calthara had become a symbol of that change. Some called him the Starborn. Others called him the Child of Balance. And some, especially humans, just called him Little Kale. Jonah called him Kiddo. Kale was growing fast, much faster than a normal human baby. At just 3 months old, he could already walk short distances and speak basic words in both human English and the Zerelian tongue. He could also control light and sound, though not always on purpose. One morning he made the sunflowers and the gardens sing earth lullabies. Jonah laughed, watching him. He's going to be a handful. Zelthara smiled. He already is. Even with peace growing across the galaxy, danger still lurked. Krillok Vorn had vanished again after the council battle. No one knew where he had gone, but everyone knew. He wasn't finished. Not yet. Jonah trained harder than ever with the Queen's warriors. He learned to use alien weapons, how to fight in zero gravity, and how to protect Kale at all costs. He wasn't just a human ambassador anymore. He was a royal protector, a father. One night Kale woke up crying. A powerful energy pulse burst from his room and shattered every light crystal in the palace. Jonah rushed in, heart racing. Zelthara followed. Kale was sitting up, glowing, tears running down his cheeks. He saw something. Zelthara said, "A dream or a vision?" Jonah held him. "It's okay, kiddo, we're here," Kale whispered. "Dark ships. Coming soon." The Queen and Jonah exchanged a serious look. They knew what that meant. Months later, Deep Space Say fleet of unknown ships entered the outer edge of Zerelian space. They weren't from any known species. Silent, black, cold. The ships had no insignia, no symbols, just rows of cannons and strange energy spikes. When Zerelian scouts tried to contact them, ships destroyed them instantly. Jonah, Zelthara, and Kale stood in the war room, watching the hologram. "Do you think it's Vorn?" Jonah asked. The Queen shook her head. "This is something else, something ancient." Dottie, now upgraded and linked to royal defense systems, beeped. They're heading directly towards Zerelia Prime, and fast. The council was contacted. Emergency meetings were held. Some leaders said to fight. Others said to hide the hybrid child. Jonah slammed his hand on the table. "We can't hide him. He's not just a child. He's the future. And maybe our only hope." That night, Zelthara took Jonah to the ancient chambers below the palace, a place only royal blood could enter. Inside, she showed him the core of memory, a giant glowing orb made of crystal and light. "This is the history of my people," she said. "It records everything." Images filled the air of ancient wars, of lost empires, and of a prophecy. Jonah's eyes widened. "Wait, ... is that Kale?" The image showed a glowing child standing before a giant black fleet. Light poured from his hands. Behind him, people of many species stood united. Zelthara nodded. "The prophecy of the Starborn? It says a child born of 2 stars, one of earth, one of flame, will lead the galaxy into the light." Jonah stared at it. "You believe it?" She placed her hand on the orb. "Do now." As the dark fleet reached orbit, its panic spread. The skies above Zerelia turned black with enemy ships, and then a message was broadcast across the system. "Surrender the hybrid child, or all life on your world will be erased." Jonah held. Kale tightly. Zelthara's guards prepared for war, but Kale placed his tiny hand on his father's face. "No more war," said softly. "Let me go to them." Jonah's eyes filled with fear. "No, no, buddy. We're not letting you go anywhere." But the queen looked deep into Kale's eyes and saw something else. Courage, understanding, destiny. "He's not asking permission," she said quietly. "He knows what he must do." They took a ship to the Dark Fleet, unarmed. The enemies did not fire. They landed on the largest vessel, cold and lifeless. At the center of the ship was a being unlike any they had seen. A shadow creature, tall and made of dark mist and metal. "You are the hybrid," the shadow said. "You are a danger to the balance." Kale stepped forward. "No, I am the new balance." He raised his hands. A pulse of light burst from his body. The walls glowed, the ship trembled, and then silence. The shadows vanished. Every ship powered down and faded, away like dust in the wind. Jonah and Zelthara ran to Kale, picking him up. He was smiling. "It's okay now," he said. "They're gone." 1 year later, the galaxy was at peace. For the first time in centuries. All major species signed a unity pact, the Starborn Accord. Kale became a symbol of this new era, not just a royal child, but a guide, a bridge between people. Jonah was made High Ambassador of Interplanetary Unity. Zelthara remained queen, wiser, stronger, and more respected than ever. And little Kale was still just a child. He loved flying, building things, with crystals and eating earth pancakes. But everyone knew he was something more. Jonah sat one morning on the palace balcony, holding a cup of alien tea, looking out at the peaceful sky. Kale ran up and jumped into his lap. "Tell me a story." "Papa." Jonah smiled. "What kind?" Kale grinned. "Tell me about the day you met Mama." Jonah laughed. "Oh boy. That was the day my whole life changed." He looked up at the stars, and it all started with one sentence. Kale leaned in. "Jonah said, 'You got me pregnant?'" "Human," the alien queen excitedly declared. Kale blinked. "What does that mean?" Zelthara, passing by, raised an eyebrow and chuckled. "You'll understand when you're older." As the stars twinkled above and the new galaxy bloomed in peace, one thing was clear. This was not the end. It was just the beginning of the legacy of the hybrid.